So day 5, how to end emotional eating mini course. What we're going to cover today. So today we're going to talk about how do you implement what you've actually learned. Okay. And, because obviously you've had a lot of information. All of the videos will be available in one combined place for you, and all the worksheets as well. So obviously they've been posted in the group. And tonight I'll send an email out with all of the replays in one go and all the worksheets, so you have them ready. So what are we going to do? What do you think about it? Well, if you think about where we started at the week, the one of the first tasks you had was what type of emotional eater you are. Obviously, hopefully there wasn't too many surprises, so you might have been surprised to see the scale and size of your challenge. But when you think about this, so that type of emotional eater is really important as well, because once you can start understanding that, you can understand your triggers, you can understand what your challenges are, where you're struggling, okay? And once that makes it a lot easier in the path to recovery. So when we look at the types of emotional eaters, so we had that depressed eating, we have the anxiety and stress eating, that anger-driven eating, you made me do this. The loneliness eating, habit eating. What we haven't put in there is habit eating. I'm sat on the couch watching Netflix and I've got my hand in the pocket of Doritos and, mindlessly eating, perhaps you would call it. Could be boredom, but it's not boredom because you're sat there doing an activity, okay? So, those are the types. Now, it'd be great to get your feedback, see if any of you were surprised, any of you that all of them, were any of you all of those? Because I know when I completed the form, I was like, yep. Which can be quite a challenge, because if eating is your response to every emotion, then that's why I got to the size I did. So the next point that we need to think about in how do we sort of implement this is, we talked about identifying the problem, okay? Now, let's think of this. Have you ever sort of found yourself standing in front of the fridge searching for something to eat? Even though you're not hungry, it's just like that boredom is like a habit. Do you want that crunchy snack food when you're feeling angry? Like, you're not angry eating, but you're not hungry. Craving certain foods, normally the unhealthy ones, when a certain event happens. Most people, when they're stressed, don't normally crave a salad. And then when you do eat it, you have that guilt and shame afterwards, because that's when we sort of identify that problem and that whole cycle of emotional eating. Now, as you say, if you identified your emotional eating and you answered yes to those sort of questions I asked there, you may have actually lost that ability to listen to your appetite and nourish your body to help those eating. Somebody talking to you about intuitive eating at this point is going to be hopeless. If you don't know your hunger scale and your fullness scale, which is something that we cover in the program, I think I've got it in the group. If I don't, I'll publish the hunger and fullness scale chart for you to help. If you have no idea of your hunger cues and no idea of your fullness cues, and you go from being starving hungry to full very quickly, then that's going to be a massive problem, okay? And like I said all throughout this, I'm not saying everyone should abstain from it, shouldn't enjoy food. The whole point of food is to have that relationship with it. You don't feel stressed. And what's important, though, is creating that relationship with food that doesn't create binging, doesn't create that problem relationship. What we're talking about here is not turning to food consciously or subconsciously. What we really need to think about is how we get that fulfillment in other elements of our life. And also, we're talking about behaviors, okay? We're talking about, that behavior of emotional eating or binge eating is normally followed by regret, guilt, and shame, which is such a popular thing. And then remember, shame and guilt are pointless emotions. They're just used by the inner critic to drive you into more episodes of binging. And, all the types of eating disorders, whether it be binge eating, overeating, all disordered eating types involve some form, of binge. And that in itself is like consuming of a large amount of food in a short period of time. Usually when you're not actually hungry, when you think about it as well, binge is often planned as well. If you're a secret eater, you'll be thinking of going to the shop. You'll be almost subconsciously filling your basket with food, okay? Because that's the habit that's been created. And quite often they'll do it in secret, okay? Like I said last night, I said in module 4, if you have, if you are hiding what you're eating, then that's sort of a signal and a red flag for a problem. And after you have an episode of binge eating or emotional eating, you usually have that, like I said, guilt, remorse, disgust, which the inner critic loves and feeds off. So and if you are moving into that section of sort of eating disorders, whether it is, binge eating disorder, whether it's bulimia, any of those sort of things, and obviously, they are needing sort of medical attention, but there's a very fine line between the two. But there's lots of other common forms of disordered eating. Many people eat when they aren't hungry and in response to emotions, those we discussed. And quite often there's some people who eat emotionally but don't lose control, don't end up binging. Again, they have that under control. Whereas if you're on this course, you listen to me, you probably identify somebody who think, I wish I could do that. And when you think about it, this unnecessary snacking and grazing could be another problem that may not be binging, could be just lasting all day. It's that incessant overconsumption of calories. So let's look at the difference though between emotional hunger and physical hunger, okay? Well, emotional hunger urges you to satisfy instantly. That's your critic going, I need it, I need it, I need it, I need it. Nothing will deal with it, and it's like just there. Whereas physical hunger can wait. You think how many times you've gone, oh, I'm really hungry, and then something happens, and then 2 hours later you've done something, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm hungry now, because that's our physical hunger. Emotional hunger will come on suddenly. You'll be like, oh my God, I'm starving, feed me now. Which is your critic. Physical hunger comes on gradually. It's like, I'm a bit hungry, and it builds. Emotional hunger craves specific options that you consider comfort foods, where it's high sugar, high fat, processed foods. Whereas physical hunger is open to a wide range of options, and lots of things sound good. And there's a good test for you. You can either call it the apple test or the broccoli test. If you're hungry and and there's an apple there, and you go, I don't want an apple, I want a pack of crisps, or I'm craving chocolate, you're not physically hungry. Because if you're physically hungry, you'd eat that apple and go, God, it's great. Let's start with that need. The other thing about emotional hunger is it isn't satisfied even when your stomach is full, because you eat so quickly. It's like, I need more food, I need more food, I need comfort. Whereas physical hunger will stop and go, do you know what? I'm okay now. I've met my needs. I'm good. Emotional eating triggers those feelings of guilt and shame. So emotional hunger, you'll eat quickly, and then very soon you're like, why have I done that? You'll have that shame, you'll have that regret. Whereas eating satisfied physical hunger doesn't make you feel bad about yourself. You'll feel refreshed, you'll feel satisfied. If you overeat emotionally, you feel sluggish, you'll feel lethargic. Whereas if you eat to satisfy physical hunger, you're energized, you're ready to go. So when implementing what you've learned, start thinking about identifying your emotions before you eat. Asking that question, am I hungry? Asking that question, do I really need more food in my stomach? If I'm not hungry, what from our triggers is pushing me to want food? And then what are my feelings now I've recognized this? So again, great idea to keep a journal. Again, in the 6-week program, I actually give you a digital journal to keep all this information. There's also forms to do a food tracking sheet, which will help you capture when you want to eat, how you want to eat. My dog's now digging. Trouble having a dog at work. So again, capturing this, tracking this, understanding this, keeping that small journal, keeping some notes by your fridge, sticking this on your cupboard door, sticking this, by your fridge. So you've got it as a reminder, having it on your phone. And then when you're tracking this food, note when you're wanting this, are you lonely? Are you bored? Where's your environment? Where are you sitting? Again, there's the food journal that comes alongside this that can support you and help you here. Because when you're identifying this data, you might start feeling how trivial something is that triggers you. It could be that every Tuesday at 4 p.m. you have a call with Colin in accounts and he just winds you up. And on your way home, you're thinking about his eating because he's an idiot. But you may not identify that it was actually the call with Colin at 4 p.m. that drives you crazy. But once you can start building this picture of it, you start to understand the challenges and what's available and what's there. One of the final points to think about is you need to learn to accept your feelings, even the bad ones, okay? Because while it may seem that that problem is that you're powerless over food, you're not, okay? As you remember from Wednesday's training, you're not powerless over food, okay? Emotional eating comes from that feeling of powerlessness. So when you can start embracing it and accepting it, if you deal with those feelings by numbing or soothing yourself with food, then all you're doing is creating those additional problems. Again, you need to address that. And then, but if you don't address it, you stop feeling capable of dealing with your problems. And food seems to be the only answer. Now, allowing yourself to be uncomfortable with your emotions can be scary, okay? You may feel like you'll open Pandora's box. And once you open the door, you won't shut it. But again, that could be your critic talking. And you got to keep your critic in the box. You got to keep him in his cage because he'll just use that against you. But the truth is, when you don't actually obsess over or suppress your emotions, then even the most painful and difficult ones with the horrorest feelings tend to subside relatively quickly and lose their power to control your attention. To do this, though, you need to become aware and learn how to stay connected to your emotional state. This can enable you to rein in that and stress and repair those emotional problems. And they often trigger emotional eating. Because remember, if you had 6 problems and then you emotional eat, you've got 7th problem. And when you think about this, emotional eating often goes hand in hand with mood disorders and depression. The last point I want to make lasting change is you need to actually invest in the right coach, mentor, plan, whether that's your PT you're currently working, whether that's whoever. You need to find the right community, the right support. This is an example of the stuff I've done. I've had personal trainers. I've worked with life coaches like Paul Moore, Paul Stalker. I've been on Tony Robbins seminars. I've listened to Jack Canfield. I've done development on myself. And that's what's really important to do, is identify where you want to go and how you want to get there, and then find the right support. Don't just buy a program, invest in it, or buy a program hoping it's going to change the answer. You've got to be committed to it. You've got to be prepared to put that effort in, because it isn't just a financial investment, it's an emotional and physical investment and a time investment. But when you think about what you're currently spending your time on, what you're currently spending your money on, especially with emotional eater, then there's an opportunity there to make that change. There's an opportunity to get the right support you need. And there's an opportunity to find the right community. So again, we've got the Emotional Eating mini course group community there. In my groups, in my programs, I have communities. And that's one of the most powerful things, is the power community, because you've got people who understand it. You can share your feelings. You can share how you're progressing. You can share your wins with people who might, if you go, hey, I've gone a week without binge eating, to one of your friends who doesn't understand it, they'll go, well, so what? What's so clever about that? Whereas in the group, it will be like, that's amazing. That's really well done. So finding that right environment is really critical. So again, I've got a variety of programs available to you. You've been on this. I was starting a 6-week program. Now I'll send all the details about that out in an email, because I think it's really important. A 6-week program is £97, okay, for 6 weeks. To give you a starter, because the other thing I want people to realize is, if you're ready to work with me one-to-one, fantastic. That's a commitment. But perhaps you just need to double. Perhaps you need to dip your toe in the water. Perhaps you need to understand what you want to achieve. Understand, is this the right coaching for you? Is this the right method for you? So hopefully you found the 5 days really beneficial and you've got a lot out of it. And if you want to work with me further on, that'll be fantastic. If you don't, and you're in a situation you can't afford the investment at the moment, I understand it too as well. So that's fine. There'll always be resources. Each week in the group at Sunday at 11 o'clock, I do a live Q&A in the Emotional Eating mini course group. So there are opportunities that I'll keep putting content out there. You'll always have access to this resources here. But if you ever need anything, reach out, ask me a question. I'm always happy to help and support. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. You enjoyed the course. Have you got any questions? I'm glad you enjoyed it, Wayne. I'm really, really glad you enjoyed it. Good. I'm saying once I got this downloaded, I'll email all the links out, all the instructions out. But I think that I'll put them all in the Facebook group as well. But that's great. Yeah, Gemma, that's amazing. Good. Yeah, and this is what it's all about: small changes, right? Don't go looking at that mountain you're climbing. Look at your next footstep, because you won't get overwhelmed. You won't get drawn, disheartened, and your critic won't be able to talk you out of it, because he or she will do that to you. Hopefully you've named your critic as well, because that's part of the fun part, I find. Somebody you really dislike. But yeah. Do you think a lot of people diet when they should be looking at when eating, not even? Yeah, absolutely. God, people need to forget the word diet, because you know what? Diet is finite. Yeah. Yeah, people should be looking at mostly because diet is finite. You know, people go on a diet; it's for a period of time. You know, yeah, Noom, all of these. You know, Noom. My personal opinion on Noom, who you work for, is it's shocking. It's just creates. Again, if you are a person who doesn't have a poor relationship with food, you just have put weight on. Guess what? These things are great. Right, but if you've been somebody who's seriously yo-yoing, Noom, Fast 800, all of them are dangerous, right? Because they're not solving it. Hey, Alex, that's amazing. Well done. What are your favorite exercise activities? Well, Wayne, I haven't done any for like 4 months because I've had my blood clot on my lung, but now I've got the all clear. Yeah, I enjoy going to the gym. I love swimming. I love walking the dogs. I live in the Lake District, so walking is a bit of a thing. But yeah, I do enjoy gym. I used to enjoy playing rugby, but I'm retired now. So I used to enjoy playing rugby. Yeah, I'm going to try and get back into becoming a triathlon, but again, I enjoy swimming, which is rubbish at it. I hate running, and I'm not very good at swimming, and cycling I'm all right at. So why I do triathlon, I do not know. But yeah, walking is you know what? My favorite exercise is walking. If you ask my wife, anybody I've worked, I lost a big chunk of my weight through building up my step count, moving. Because walking's free. It doesn't damage you. It doesn't hurt you. And it's a great way to get into nature. Great way to do. You can do two things at the same time with a walk. You can listen to stuff. You can broaden your mind. You can do conference calls when you're walking, as long as you don't want to see you on Zoom. So, but yeah, Alex, I'm really pleased with that. Thank you for that. Elaine, I'm so pleased. Glad you showed up all week as well. It means a lot to me that you took your time out each night to do this. My dogs will be extremely happy though to have their dad back, so we can go back out for walks. Yeah, they do need more exposure. The problem is, it's like most things. It's like I said about this intuitive eating, Alex. It's like it's got a bad rap. And we don't talk about food because again, people ban you about. People go, "Oh yeah, I'm a food addict." Trust me, you're a food addict if you wake up first thing and all you think about food and then how you can get food. And if you can't get it, where are you going to find it? It's the very same as any other addiction. How am I going to do this without somebody noticing? But people don't. Oh, I'm addicted to food. You've got a poor relationship. We need to talk about emotional eating. We need to talk about what the big food companies are doing, because they're creating these problems. And the big pharmaceutical companies, because that's, what? They like obesity, because they make a hell of a load of money. God, if we had a perfect world, right? It's like if people stop smoking, the NHS would go bust. If we stopped, got people healthy and they didn't have to have the blood pressure drugs, they didn't have to have the diabetes drugs and all the other things, these pharmaceutical companies would go bust because they keep promoting this. That's why food companies buy, diet companies, because they can then flog their ultra high processed foods as low fat, low sugar ready meals. There you go. Or shakes, rather than encouraging people to eat healthy, self-prepared meals. Anyway, you're getting me on a rant, so don't. Anyway, look, thank you very much, everybody, for joining me. Again, I'll when I get back home, I'll download everything and send it all out an email. If you are interested in joining my 6-week program, I'll pop the details of that in the email to everyone as well. And we start next week. Yeah, next week. Yeah, great. And if anybody, if any of you guys do sign up, I've got 8 copies of my workbook that I'll ship out to the first 8 who sign up. If you want to know more details, drop me a message and I'll get your link and get your workbook. Super. Thank you very much, everyone. And I'll see you all very, very soon. If not, see you Sunday, 11 o'clock for the live Q&A.